Hey Green Thumbs, and Happy New Year! Welcome, one and all, to the very first episode of the year. I hope 2026 is already off to a great start for you, and that your garden is giving you something to look forward to, even though it's the middle of winter. But before we start the show today, I just want to hop in and say hello and remind you that January is it's a quiet month on the surface, but around here in Sacramento, there's actually a lot happening if you know where to look. So, before we jump into today's episode, I want to share a few quick January garden tasks to help you kick off the year strong. Some of this is stuff we've been discussing on the podcast in the last few weeks. Some of it is new stuff, just things for you to be thinking about if you're looking to get active out there in your garden. All right, so here we go. First up, it's camellia season. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing them everywhere, and they're beautiful. Sasanquas are in full bloom right now, and japonicas are just starting to show off. Camellias are Sacramento's signature flower, and they bring some of the best color you can get. So if you've got space for one, now's the time to maybe go check them out. Also, feed the birds. Supplement natural foraging with quality bird seed, and always keep your feeders and your bird baths clean to prevent disease. This is also a prime time for planting bare root fruit trees. We've got apples, peaches, nectarines, figs, cherries, pears, pluots, grapes, berries, and more. Think of it as planting delicious snacks for the future. We also have bare root roses in, if you want to do roses. And speaking of roses, January is rose pruning time in Sacramento. Give established roses a good trim now for strong growth and beautiful blooms later this year. So take a few minutes to clean, sharpen, and oil your pruners. Get out there and start pruning. And then finally, dormant season is defense season. So if you've got stone fruits, you got stone fruit trees in your yard, now's the time to spray them with liquid copper to prevent leaf curl and shot hole fungus. It's really easy to do and protects your trees. All right, that's all for now. I hope that is helpful to some of you. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode. Here we go. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Green Acres and our guests. These general gardening tips and suggestions may work for you, as well as those from alternative sources. When using any garden products or tools, read and follow all label directions. And learn how to make your yard summer strong at bewatersmart.info.
The Green Acres Garden Podcast is the podcast dedicated to helping gardeners hone their growing skills while we celebrate our love of plants. So whether you're new to growing or a seasoned gardener, you're sure to learn something new. Join the fun as we have conversations with world-class growers, passionate green thumbs, and professional garden experts from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Listen every week. We'll answer questions you didn't know you had. Here we grow. Hello there, and welcome one and all to the show. This is the Green Acres Garden Podcast, the home for all you green thumbs out there. I'm your host, Kevin Jordan. We got so much to talk about this week, where we are starting the new year just hands in the soil, just ready to rock. Actually, I was out in the garden this morning, Austin, getting after it. I wouldn't actually stop by the nursery. Yeah. Don't want to say to be unnamed. No, Green Acres, of course. Okay. Picked up a couple of roses. I got myself a Julia Child, and I got a Double Delight rose. Actually, that was the rose I first fell in love with back when I was a young teen, just watering roses at the nursery. I saw this plant, and I was like, this flower is just so gorgeous. It was a Double Delight. It's like white with tinged kind of like strawberry rosy kind of edges, super fragrant, like a really high petal count. And it looks like it has like two little roses kind of smashed together inside of one rose blossom.
Oh, how cool is that?
I love them. I actually finally got myself my very own. That's how you know when you're an adult, when you go out and you kind of like buy the toys you wanted. Now I'm doing it. And so I brought those back home, got them planted, picked up another. Actually, I'm in a Double Delight kind of mood. Picked up a nectarine.
Oh, there we go.
Double Delight. Actually, it's going to be a gift. It's one of those gifts where like you're giving it to somebody else. It's really a gift you're giving yourself. Because I'm the orchard at my family's house. My cousin just keeps one more tree for her collection. So I cannot wait. I'm going to get that thing planted, cut it down real short. I'm going to go hardcore short on this one. Every time I do it, I kind of do it a little bit more. I'm going 2 feet. I'm going to measure 24 inches up, and I'm cutting that sucker, which is going to break my heart because it's like 6-7 feet tall right now. But I think that's what we need to do, start that scaffold nice and low. And so I am in a planting kind of mood, Austin.
You're starting off strong. You've got roses, you're getting fruit trees, and you're just off and running. I love that. That's great energy.
Actually, dude, consider this. One of the best moments of my life just happened,
What's
right?
that?
So I'm out there in the garden. I start kind of digging up the area where I'm going to plant this rose. Encounter so much kind of dormant and semi-dormant Bermuda grass. I'm like, "Urgh." So I start peeling the mulch back. I get my cultivator out. I start ripping it out. My son comes up, my oldest, and he's like, "Dad, can I help? Like, what are you doing? Can I have one of those?" And I'm like, I look down. He's like, "The cultivator." He wants the cultivator. I'm like, "Dude, go for it." Handed it to him. He starts ripping at it and cultivating and ripping up at those roots and whatnot and all those. Loved it.
Nice.
So I helped me out. It's like, my son, I had to wipe a little
You're so proud
tear
of your
from my
boy.
eye. Yeah, my little mycorrhiza man is all grown up. So cool. It's just fun. And then you get this, we got it planted, went back inside and had a good little morning.
Oh, awesome.
So
you
it was
got
pretty good times.
both of your new roses planted with the help of your son, too. That's so cool.
For sure, which is good because the twins, they're at the age where we really can't play like catch, but we play fetch. So it's nice that way I can have the older son's able to kind of really be helpful because the twins, we're just playing fetch right now, I noticed,
Okay.
which is actually pretty good. They're pretty good at it.
Next, they'll learn how to roll over.
Yeah, we'll get there. Stay. You would think, but no, honestly, they're pretty good at fetch.
Okay,
we're having good
that's
times.
awesome.
But honestly, I think I'm full steam ahead in
I
the garden.
see that.
And for me in my own garden, not just the school garden, but I'm kind of like in that phase of the year where I'm dreaming. I've got my garden dreams kind of brewing. I'm garden dreaming. Hopefully other people who are out there are dreaming a little bit too, maybe / planning their garden. Because why else do it? We're out here to have fun.
Well,
you know?
what kind of garden dreams are you talking about?
It's like I'm trying to think. What do I want to get out of my garden this year? It's like, what are my hopes? What do I want to overcome? Like, what did I learn from last year?
Right.
Lessons learned. Like things moving forward. How am I going to enhance the garden by adding or modifying irrigation? Just all those little things I'm thinking about now to kind of plan out kind of my course for success. I'm charting it out. And so I think that kind of leads into today's topic, Austin.
Okay, so we're starting the new year strong. I love this energy. You got dreams that you're thinking, and you want to start laying out your plans. What are you looking forward to? What do you want to get into right now, Kevin?
I'm dreaming right now of a beautiful, lush vegetable garden summer that is just dotted with tons of flowers, tons of fresh herbs, and just an abundance of fruit. And for me right now, it means starting from seed to get a start on that garden to kind of make that dream a reality. So I know a lot of gardeners are out there. This is the time of year where they're really not just planning and dreaming, but they're actually getting things started for that. You wouldn't believe it. A lot of like the success that happens in the spring summer garden is all because of the effort you do right now. So
Cool.
Starting from seed is paramount. Why do we do it? Way more affordable, so many more options. And honestly, it's just a lot of fun and super satisfying to watch the magic of that seed go from this lifeless little kind of grain of nothingness, boom, to a little plant, a little piece of life, an organism. And then you watch them grow up, you harvest it, you see this lush, healthy plant that came out of almost nothing.
Yeah.
That is so satisfying.
It's
I
cool.
love it. But
you know what it does for me? It makes me way more invested in the plants that I'm growing.
Yeah,
because
that's a good point.
I love doing the transplants. That's always great. Like, especially if some of your seedlings didn't germinate, or if
transplants are convenient for sure.
Yeah, it's a last minute savior. But when I grow from seed and I see them germinate, I'm with them that whole journey. Oh, it's like it tastes that much better
For sure.
some reason.
That reason alone, I think, is worth it. But ultimately, I think people really love having the options, the variety. When you look at the seed catalogs, the seed rack at your local, nurseries, head down to Green Acres Nursery. Their seed area I feel like it's getting bigger and bigger every year. And now there's native seeds out there. You've got herbs, there's flowers, wildflowers, cool season stuff. Things that you can grow right now out in the garden, like lettuce and peas and radish that you could direct seed. But the things that we're going to discuss today are going to be ones that you're going to start in a sheltered area. So we're talking about starting from seed, getting, like I said, that whole spring, summer garden started right now. So that way you can actually start that success right now. And I'm talking peppers, tomatoes specifically are what I'm going to get going first off. So for those out there, get your hands on a good seed planting calendar. Hopefully your dream, you already have an idea of what you want to grow, what you want from your garden, and look at a planting calendar and see what your options are for when you need to plant something in a sheltered area. It will tell you when do you plant out into the garden direct seed, when can you transplant, and when should you start in a sheltered area. That would be like growing indoors or like a little mini greenhouse out back. And a lot of that stuff is right now. So for us in Zone 9B, it's peppers and tomato season, friends. You wouldn't think it's January. It's pretty chilly outside, but for starting indoors or in a sheltered area, peppers and tomatoes.
Okay.
We're going to talk about it right now.
Let's do it.
The ins and outs from very basic all the way up to something maybe a little bit more than less, basic.
Perfect. All right, let's dive into that. So, another cool resource would be a video that we shot last year, Kevin. I'd love to put that in the episode description where you demonstrate how to start your seeds and an introduction to some of the gear that's involved. But let's start from the very basic beginner. Like some people may not or even want to use all that heating mats and the complicated stuff. So what's the simplest way to get some tomato seeds started right now?
Go down and get yourself a little packet of tomatoes. Pick your most favorite variety. Sun Golds for me, I love. Get yourself a bag of indoor seed starting mix. And it'll say seed starter mix. You don't want to use dirt from the outside. We can discuss, the potential of using a potting soil where you could sift out some of those larger chunks and things. I've seen some people kind of try to, use what was left over in the bottom of their bag or whatever. But ultimately, I love fresh, clean, sterile seed starting mix.
Yes.
It's fluffy, it's light. It'll have little bits of perlite in there that, for drainage and for...
It's very fluffy. It's very
Yes,
different
once you get out of that bag.
than everything else. Yeah, and we have that pink bag by E.B. Stone, the seed starting mix, and it's very light, very fluffy. And I also remember you recommend kind of like pre-moistening it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said it. That's like a pro tip for sure, because the soil itself is kind of very dry and becomes a little hydrophobic sometimes, where it doesn't really want to quickly absorb the water. So when you do, sometimes my students will do this. They'll fill up the containers, the seed starting trays. They'll put their seed in. Oh, it's a quarter inch down, half an inch down, wherever. And then they go to water it, and then as it absorbs water unevenly, whoop, the soil kind of gets dislodged and gets flipped over, and now that seed that should be a quarter inch down is who knows where it's at.
Somewhere else.
Or it's at the surface now drying out or whatever. And so absolutely pre-moisten the soil. So it all starts with really good soil, clean trays. Now you could use, it's starting from seeds. It's so simple. You could literally use old yogurt cups and things like that. I like to collect them and reuse them. You got to just poke holes, plenty of holes, because drainage, what it is seeds need 3 things in order to germinate, Austin. We're getting sciencey now.
Okay. Warmth.
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah.
And oxygen?
That's actually it, yeah. Yeah, so just air, temperature, and water. So the water the dry seed coat, once it's exposed to water, it'll absorb and it'll expand and then crack. The temperature kind of signals to the seed, hey, the situation is right. You can, if you sprout, you will have a good chance at living. And then that air is inherently in the soil, and we usually run into problems when we water them so much that we suffocate them, and then it pushes out all that air. Or the seedling sprouts, and it's in an area where it's just the air is so still that they get issues as well. And we'll get into that.
Okay.
So air, temperature, and water.
Okay, so I said oxygen, and you corrected me with air. It's not oxygen they need, right?
It's probably all of it.
It's a little bit of it's just air. Okay.
Yeah, just air.
And the problem
Oxygen's
is,
part
like
of
what
air.
you said, if they can't get air, they're just waterlogged and they can't breathe, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and oxygen is a huge part of that. Okay. Absolutely. It'd be like us suffocating, right, from lack of oxygen, for sure.
That's no good. Okay, so, and you can start in anything, basically. Whatever you have on hand, you can do very DIY style.
We've even made, we had old pieces of paper, newspaper, where you'd cut strips, and then you roll them around the bottom of a container, and then we had a little wooden cup, and then you'd just poke little holes, and then it would eventually just dissolve. But you can really get creative.
What about the soil blockers you brought up recently?
That's pretty cool. So it's like a little metal mechanism that just compresses. You take a mix of soil, and there's some ingredient mixes online. One part this, one part that. That way the soil will kind of adhere to itself. You get it a little bit wet, right? You pre-moisten it, and the soil blocker kind of just compresses it into like little cubes, like different sizes you can get.
That's cool.
And then it's kind of cool where it'll hold the shape temporarily. You can put seeds into that, and then eventually you can just
So you don't need any tray or any container.
Yeah, just a bigger tray to hold them, right?
Okay, cool.
Like a 16 by 16 or whatever. But you can get creative with it, or a 10-20. And that way you can do it with maybe a little less plastic. But no, you can go down actually at the nursery. They'll have trays made just for starting seeds. So you can go from everything from recycled or upcycled materials to the real standard stuff that has trays. It's kind of nice. I think the more you do it, the more I kind of lean on the industry standard, having a nice 10-20 tray with some 6-packs or some 4-packs in there with the holes that have lots of good drainage. You'll see some that have different methods for watering where you can bottom water them and have trays that can catch that water, and then trays that have holes where you can pull them out of that water. So you can get pretty sophisticated with it, but really ultimately you want clean, durable trays that you can rely on and that will have proper drainage. If you put it into a cup and the water doesn't drain out, you're going to have a tough time.
Okay.
So air, water, and temperature. And so when it comes to temperature, that's where the heating mats come in.
Okay.
And so I have this old school one at the school that is like a powerhouse for us, but they have newer, much nicer ones.
Okay.
Because this one, the one at the school, it gets a little hot, so you got to keep the,
Oh boy. But if you have it in your house, so just the normal house temperature, would that be warm enough or no?
Depends on the seeds. So there's plenty of seeds. Like let's say you want to start broccoli indoors. The warmth of indoors is probably enough. But if you want to start your pepper seeds, your tomatoes, they're probably going to need it a bit warmer than what most homes might be like right now.
Okay.
But you might, if it's pretty toasty, you might get away with that. But ultimately, heating mats that will raise the soil temperature, up above 70 degrees Fahrenheit, into the 80s or whatever, that will trick the seeds into thinking that they are resting in some spring soil, and then you water them lightly, and then boom, they start sprouting. So ultimately, use correct soil. The mix for seed starting, it's there for a reason. It's just like you said, it's fluffy, it's light. There's not going to be big, and if you notice any big chunks in there, pull those out because break them apart because your seedlings are going to have to push past any of that heavy material. They had bags of perlite there, I noticed today too. Some folks will even get that mix and then they'll even
add more perlite.
They'll add more perlite to it to make it even just a little bit fluffier, a little bit lighter to make sure it has a lot of airflow.
Ooh, you're reminding me of another product. I think you demonstrate this in the video, is vermiculite, which I believe you said helps with damping off. So once you have planted your seeds in whatever material you're using, you recommend, I think, pouring that on top.
I've seen it done professionally, and that's where I learned it at nurseries where they would utilize that, and they'd have these big productions where they're using a really decent seed starting mix, and then they would plant their seeds, and then they would top it with a thin layer of vermiculite. Vermiculite is this cool material. It looks kind of like fool's gold. It kind of gets puffed out in these little accordions with a bunch of layers. Looks almost like a croissant witch or something. It's like a cronut. But don't eat it. But it's great for the soil. You can actually mix it into your potting mix and help with water retention, a little bit of aeration. So it holds air and water pretty well. And so what I've noticed from people that they've mentioned, if you add a thin layer of vermiculite on top, it really helps with damping off. Damping off, if you don't know, is lame. It is. It's just lame. No, it's a terrible. I've had it happen. It's a terrible little disease caused by like fungal mold in the soil. Then it causes your seedlings to come up. They get all kind of thin and leggy, and then when the conditions are just kind of cool, kind of overly wet, they just get overrun.
They kind of just fail.
And then they fail. The stem kind of weakens. It might get discolored. It might just bend over and break. And then you're like, what happened here?
I don't think I've had that, but I think I've had a few seeds not germinate. But really, with the heating mat, and I put a cover on it to keep the humidity in, and with constant watering, I've had really high success rate for seed germination. Is that normal, or am I just like really good at this? Like what can people expect?
Knowing you, knowing you, like personally, I think you're a doer. You're kind of like, you're very organized, and you're studious.
Thank you.
You're not the kind of person. You're not a slob. You know what I mean? So it's like you're the kind of person like, oh wait, what do I do? X, Y, and Z. All right, I did X, Y, and Z. Like, oh no, I was mostly successful.
So because I just follow the steps, that's why they all work.
That's what I'm thinking. So a lot of people, I think they get intimidated by seeds because they're like, ooh, what is this? Is like some sciencey stuff. No, just decent, fluffy soil. If you want to get high level, then you can top it off with a thin layer of vermiculite on the top. Just make sure that you're not burying it any deeper than it needs to be. Really follow the directions on the seed packets, and you'll. I mean, come on, you're going to have some pretty decent success. All the different seeds sometimes have different requirements on how close they want to be planted, how long it even takes to germinate, and that's something to consider because sometimes you're looking at some seeds pop up in like a few days, others take several weeks, and you're like, what did I do wrong? And you're like, well, nothing. They're just different plants.
Well, the peppers take a little bit to pop up,
they
right?
do,
What
for
is that,
sure.
a few weeks
At
till you see
least.
something?
I've noticed mine are like 3 to 4 weeks to really, maybe 3 weeks.
So
if you're
are you
lucky,
ever
if
like
it's in
pulling
2.
your hair out like, oh, what's going on?
Sometimes when you don't see it, you're like, come on. And when they finally do, you're like, yeah, I knew it.
I did it.
But that's why you always plant maybe 10 to 15, 20% more than you think you might need.
Sure.
So that way there's just a little buffer. So if some don't make it, some seeds are just, even in a package, you might have 100 seeds. There's a certain percentage that just may not, be viable or whatever.
Sure.
It may not germinate successfully. And that's okay. But
well, first year I did it, I had too many. I had to give them away.
yeah, that is a good thing.
I made a
Means you did
Facebook
it.
Marketplace post. I was like, please, I have like
I remember
50
that.
seeds I need to get, seedlings I need to get rid of.
When it rains, it pours. It's always like,
Yeah.
I planted too much of this, not enough of that. But with that, so pre-moisten your soil.
Okay.
Get containers that are going to be big enough for you, but not overly massive. Because that's what kind of nice thing about starting from seed is you can plants like a tomato plant's like 5, 6, 7 feet tall when it's mature, but you can start them all really small, kind of in a small little area. So smaller containers are fine when they're young, and realize you're gonna have to keep them there for several weeks, if not longer, especially when it comes to peppers and tomatoes. So that's where we're gonna get into things like you need an airflow, and that's where damping off. One of the things you can do to maybe help with that is, don't overwater your seedlings. Don't let them just rest in still water. The vermiculite is one way to kind of add in that, but then also just having if you can add fans or any kind of airflow, and it can be small fans, just something to just blow some fresh air across your seedlings. That can really help with those conditions and just help for stronger, more vigorous little seedlings. And then ultimately, one thing I think anyone who's listening has maybe tried growing from seed before, they've probably run into this problem before, is seedlings that get leggy and outstretched, and they're indoors and they're getting some light, but they're not getting enough light.
They need more light.
And so I've done that myself where you're kind of ambitious. You're like, I'm going to start some tomato seedlings in here, and they sprout and they start growing really quickly. And then you soon realize, the nodes are very far apart. It's not looking very dense.
Yeah.
And so I need more light. So adding supplemental lighting to your little grow area, like I said, it can be as simple as a shelf on a window, but you can also get a rack, and you can have a few little fans, and you can have some seed trays in there.
Or would you ever move them outside at that point to get more light? Or are they still kind of sensitive to the
We
cold?
are early in the season right now, so
Okay.
that would be like hardening off. So later in the season, once they get bigger, you'll up pot them into maybe some larger containers. And then eventually we do want to harden them off and kind of ease them out into the wild, into the nature, but we're nowhere near that yet.
Okay.
Right? We're step one. But then also so airflow can be very helpful. And then just watering them consistently. You can get a spray bottle, you can get a watering can, but make sure it has a nice gentle.
Yeah.
When I first started
I've got
teaching,
one with like a auto mister.
That can be
kind of.
helpful.
And it gets the top moist enough that when you do add like normal water, it doesn't freak out. And
beat away.
Yeah.
Yes, that can be helpful. Just know that you want to make sure when you do water, it needs to water all the way through nice and evenly.
Right.
And then don't let them sit, in that tray that catches the water. They don't want to be sitting in that for too long. Some people do bottom water, and that's valid too.
I've never done that. That seems very like a good way to go.
You can do that way. There's some wicking. There's also ones that use wicking ability, the capillary action, which is pretty cool. I love capillary action,
Yeah.
button, isn't that so? I've been doing that with
pretty
my
cool.
students lately, where it's
Teaching them how plants move
It's
water.
It's how plants. It's one of the mechanisms that really helps trees and plants
They
absorb
push
water.
it way high up.
Yes,
That's cool
So,
stuff. All right. Well, this is exciting. I'm pumped for seeds. And I just want to, again, point our listeners to the video in the episode description. I'll also add the planting calendar that you mentioned. And then I'll throw out a couple links to some seeds that you can check out on our website. But definitely go into the stores and check out our seed racks. Like you said, they're big. And there's a ton of seed options there. And if you're looking for something to start as a beginner, if you're new to this, we recommend you try growing tomatoes, like cherry tomatoes, some herbs like basil.
Oh, yeah.
You probably want to do some vegetables like kale, jalapeno, carrot, bush bean. All these things are great things to start with, as well as, maybe some flowers like sunflowers and zinnias. These are all fun, great things to start in the spring, and now's the time to start your seeds. So also in the stores, we have all of the hardware you're going to need. We've got seed trays, the seed mix, the seeds themselves, and all of the other hardware and tools that go along with it to make it easy for you. If you have any questions, ask our garden gurus in the stores. That's why they're there, and they want to help you, and they want to make sure that you're successful growing everything you want to grow this year. So go in there, check it out, and dream big. Go for, grow some really cool seeds this year. Kevin, that's all the time we have for right now. Go ahead and take us out.
Well, I want to encourage everyone to dream big out there. A huge shout out to producer Greg. He actually brought me some seeds in honor of today's episode. He brought me some Pueblo chili seeds. These are these peppers that are grown from his hometown, his home region.
Pueblo, Colorado.
Pueblo, Colorado. I've never grown these before. They're a thick-walled, like a meaty, sweet, earthy, spicy pepper that is like known for roasting and its unique flavor. Never grown it. I'm so excited, man. I cannot wait. There is endless potential and possibility in a single seed. I think growing seeds is for everybody. If somebody is considering getting out and growing this year, start off with seeds. Don't even worry about transplants. I love a good seedling. I love a good transplant. I'm going to grow as much as I can from seed, and ultimately, I'm sure I will plant some transplants in the spring, but you'll have so much fun growing from seed, and the options are limitless. So please consider starting your garden from seed, and this time of the year is the best time to do that.
Woo.
So happy gardening to all of you folks out there. I wish you all the very best this week. Please have a great week out in your garden. Plan, dream big, and share us with a friend if you could. We'd truly appreciate it. And come back here next week for another garden adventure. Until then, happy gardening to you all. And please, never stop growing.
Seeds!
Germinate it.